Alright guys, so I'm going to take a break real quick and just kind of show where I'm at with things. It got a little bit difficult to get everything recorded that I was trying to, but I just wanted to show the powder coat, this gold. This gold is from the powder coat store. I will link the powder in the description. Show y'all the new parts real quick. This is the Racer Pro Quip kit. I got the flywheel, the Champion rockers, 6mm billet push rods, new rocker studs. Got a flat top piston, rings, wrist pins, retainers, gaskets. Looks like there's a fire ring head gasket maybe, and a steel head gasket. Got some bearings for the ARC rod. It is full billet rod. This is not full billet, I don't think. I'm not 100% sure. This is the mod for 8,000 RPM cam. We got some heavy springs and what they refer to as almost billet lifters. Alright guys, so the motor's almost together. Just going to give you a little sneak peek of everything's torqued down, RTV'd in. I've got these Loctited in. I went ahead, I did have enough gold bolts because I had the long ones that came from holding the stator, and they were powder coated in the process. So I've got a valve cover spacer here so that my Champion rockers are no longer hitting the baffle. Let's just kind of work on getting this carb situated. I was just playing around with the carb and the filter. I'm not going to be running that. I'll be running this foam nibby. I'm going to go ahead and open this bowl up and see what jet is in it so that I can figure out what I need to run. I'll be doing a little bit of guesstimating basing off what this motor was running on a VM22. This is a 24 mil, but my buddy is running this carb and he's got a similar build, so I'm going to base it off that and then kind of tune from there. Alright guys, so everything's kind of bolted in place. All I did was slip the rear wheel on. I still got to tighten the brakes. I've got the chain roughly where I want it so I can adjust the adjusters, tighten the axle nut. But mainly just wanted to get this bolted down, get some oil in it, and we're about to do a first start here in a second. So it's Friday, everything's ready. Just soak these things with some tire shine so the mud won't stick because it's probably going to be a little bit wet. I got the brakes bolted up. It's been kind of crunch time. I had to do a lot of stuff off camera. I wish I could have recorded more of it, but it's just me working in the shop today. So I got the chain back on. I put a new clutch on just because. I drained my oil. It had some glitter to it, nothing crazy, no big chunks of metal. So I rode it today. You know, I've done several heat cycles on this motor, so I feel like it's broken as much as it's gonna be broken, unfortunately, before I go ride it. I oiled my filter up. This is not the stock Nibby. This is a Nibby foam I ordered from Mini Mayhem. Running the 35 Pilot Jet on the 3rd needle clip. If I get out there and it's chopping at full throttle, I'll probably put it down a slot. Just trying to keep it from being insanely rich until those rings are fully seated. It's got the quick band clamp setup here. I love that. Hopefully it doesn't try to walk off while I'm out there riding. Got some new fuel line on here. that came with the pulse pump. I decided not to run it for now. I know this setup works great. It's working great so far. The only issue I had was when I first started this thing, the flywheel was hitting this flywheel cover ever so lightly. And so all I did was space each flywheel cover bolt with 2 washers, and then I Loctited them in. It pulls fine. Everything's clearanced well.
This one. Go-kart seat on it.
Alright guys, this thing is disgusting. All that hard work on the powder coat and it's caked with mud, unfortunately. But I'm going to try to wash this thing down with the Harbor Freight electric washer. I mean, it is caked. So I'm going to set the camera up and wash this thing down. We'll see how it comes out. Alright, it's a ways from clean, but you can see the motor again. Everything's somewhat clean. I'm probably going to end up pulling the engine back off the frame, just cleaning everything really well, get it all shined back up for some street riding. You can kind of see what I tape off, just the exhaust, any of the holes like the intake and stuff, and then the gas, and then my little area here so it doesn't flood that because that's really hard to dry. Everything kind of came out shiny again. You can tell some stuff's dirty, but when I pull the motor, I'll touch up anything that needs touching up.